我有自己嘅原則，我就唔想成世俾人撳住嚟打。你好中意同人慳咩？我衰咗3年，我等一個機會。爭翻頭，唔係要證明話俾人聽我威，只係想話俾人聽我唔見咗嘅嘢，我就自己攞翻。
Genshin Impact has been out for quite some time, yet the true objective of the main story has remained shrouded in mystery. However, with the release of the bedtime story Archon Quest, many crucial details were unveiled, shedding light on the true purpose of the narrative and foreshadowing the climax of the story. Initially, after fighting with the unknown god and being separated from our twin, our main objective was to find our sibling and leave this place, which remained quite consistent until we actually met our twin.
But I cannot go with you to the next world to find a new home. Huh? At least, not yet. Until the Abyss has engulfed the thrones, my war with destiny will see no end.
There's actually a slight translation nuance here. In the original Chinese version, she says,
在深渊淹没神座之前，我与天理有一场尚未完结的战争。
which translates to, I have an unfinished war with the heavenly principles instead of destiny. This reveals that our Abyss sibling harbors a direct conflict with the heavenly principles and seeks to obliterate them completely, meaning the traveler is essentially bound to Teyvat until their twin finishes their business. However, the actions of the Abyss Order seem to extend far beyond merely defeating the heavenly principles. It has been confirmed that the heavenly principles are currently asleep, perhaps even in a weakened state. If their true goal is to kill them, now would be the perfect opportunity to strike.
Attack him when he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Sun Tzu.
So killing the heavenly principles is clearly not their main objective. As for the past 500 years, the Abyss Order has been under the guidance of the Visionary, whose real name is revealed to be Vedafölnir, one of the 5 sinners of Canria and Dainsleif's elder brother. He has played a crucial role in the ongoing Loom of Fate operation, which is confirmed to be a powerful world-changing device.
In its primitive form, it can only be used to create and implant memories. But as more of it is completed, its power becomes stronger and stronger, until finally, it has the power to weave real ley lines of its own. Once fully completed, the moment it gains the power to weave ley lines, it loses the lower-level ability to influence memories.
Ley lines and Irminsul are fundamentally connected. Ley lines are essentially the roots of the immense Irminsul tree, which according to Tignari grows upside down. These roots spread across the surface of Teyvat, absorbing elemental energy and memories. Irminsul weaves these ley lines in the same way a tree grows its roots. It also possesses the unique ability to manipulate people's memories, as demonstrated by Rukkhadevata and Scaramouche being erased from people's memories and history as if they had never existed. This ability is very similar to the Loom of Fate, which not only manipulates memories, but also weaves new ley lines, which are equivalent to the roots of a tree. Thus, if the Loom of Fate is a device capable of creating such roots, it could fundamentally be regarded as the same in nature as Irminsul. Because as Caribert noted, the newly woven ley lines created by the Loom of Fate cannot replace or extend the existing ones, as they are deeply entrenched into the planet. Think of Irminsul and the Loom of Fate as 2 separate trees. Each can grow its own roots, but cannot grow the roots of another tree. This limitation actually reveals the upcoming plot of the main story and the scheme of the Abyss Order. In order to fully activate the Loom, they must first destroy the current Irminsul and leyline system. This destruction would clear the way for the Loom of Fate to weave new ley lines, aligning with their goal of reweaving the threads of fate.
Then, the threads of all fate will be yours to reweave.
Speaking of fate, Back in Sumeru, Nicole indirectly confirmed the flexibility of Tevat's fate.
Unfortunately, the fate of Tevat cannot easily be changed. Perhaps a god may have a slim chance, like a vase that falls to the ground. Whether it is broken by a cat or by a bird, the result is still a broken vase, is it not?
In simpler terms, once an event occurs, its outcome cannot be altered. The broken vase remains broken regardless of who caused the damage. An incomplete loom can modify memories related to the vase's breakage, leading someone to believe they didn't break it. Just like how Caribou tricked Dainsleif with a false memory. But once the loom is fully operational, it can transcend merely altering memories and start reshaping the very fabric of reality. It can rewrite what was once considered irreversible, such as changing the fate of the broken vase and restoring it to an unbroken state. Despite seeming logically implausible, we've actually witnessed this ability in action during Raiden Shogun's story quest. 500 years ago, Inazuma was under relentless attacks from countless monsters.
Some were local in origin, while others came from the now fallen kingdom of Kanria. The disaster in Inazuma caused me great concern. I felt that I had to step in before it was too late, otherwise it would spread to all of Tevat.
Inazuma was essentially the first line of defense. If the monsters broke through Inazuma, they would threaten the entirety of Tevat. The situation became so dire that Makoto had to seek help from Istaroth, the god of time, who agreed to intervene, since this was a global crisis that impacted all of Tevat. On the surface, it appears that Istaroth simply planted a seed in the past that would eventually grow into the sacred Sakura, a tree with powerful cleansing abilities capable of protecting Inazuma from these monstrous threats. However, doing so would create a time travel paradox. The sacred Sakura only exists because Makoto asked Istaroth for help. But if Istaroth planted the seed in the past, it means that Inazuma would not have struggled against the monsters 500 years ago due to the protection of the sacred Sakura. As a result, Makoto would have had no reason to ask Istaroth for help. This creates a paradox where planting the sacred Sakura in the past to protect Inazuma would negate the very reason for its planting in the first place. The only way for time travel to exist without creating such a paradox is through the existence of branching timelines, weaving a new timeline that diverges from the original sequence of events, and then merging them together. This is evident with A being an anomaly in the current timeline, as she is from the original timeline where the sacred Sakura did not exist.
When I returned to Inazuma, I was shocked to find that a great Sakura tree had appeared on Mount Yogo, the tree that you know as the sacred Sakura. No one questioned it. And yet, its presence contrasted so starkly with the area as I remembered it. It seemed as if I was the only one to have noticed it appear suddenly out of thin air.
This sharply contrasts with the collective memory around her, where everyone believes the sacred Sakura has always been there since the beginning of time. The discrepancy is not merely a memory alteration by the Ermin soul. The sacred Sakura physically manifested in reality, proving it's a merging of two timelines. This was achieved when A entered Makoto's consciousness in her final moments.
She had already lapsed into unconsciousness by that point, so all I could do was enter into her mind. As far as you're concerned, it would be somewhere similar to the plane of Euthymia,
which is a unique realm that exists outside the flow of time.
The nature of the space itself is different in some way. To the outsider, the realm of consciousness is a very abstract concept.
And the location can't be pinpointed because it exists outside the flow of time. A battled the Shogun for what seemed like an eternity, while only minutes passed in the outside world. Here's the sequence of events in a nutshell. A is from the original timeline without the sacred Sakura. 500 years ago, Because there was no sacred Sakura protecting Inazuma, monsters overwhelmed it, leading to a dire future that potentially impacted all of Teyvat. This prompted Makoto to work with Istaroth to weave a new timeline and undertake an operation to merge the two timelines together in order to change the fate of Teyvat. Makoto sacrificed herself in order to bring A into her consciousness, a realm existing outside of time. While A was within this realm, Istaroth pruned the original timeline and merged the new one with the old. However, this caused a problem, as the timeline didn't flow properly. The original timeline didn't have the sacred Sakura, and suddenly making it appear would disrupt the natural course of events. This is why Makoto sealed her consciousness and the seed of the sacred Sakura within Musu Ishin to bring it to the future, and ensured that future A planted the seed in the past, connecting the cause and effect of the timeline. A essentially became the bridge that weaves the two timelines together. The sacred Sakura now exists because future A planted it in the past, effectively changing the fate of Teyvat. Our Abyss twin claims to have seen in Teyvat flowers at the end of their journey, in a place called the Sea of Flowers at the end. They emphasized that it's not a coincidence. The Teyvat flowers stood out in this world much like the sacred Sakura did, because they are not native to Teyvat. They originate from another world and symbolize the twins' home. They don't belong here and shouldn't be here. This means that the only people who could have planted them are either the Traveler or the Abyss twin. Since the flowers were discovered in full bloom, the only possible explanation is that they were planted in the past by the future twin. This served as a sign for their past self, encouraging them to remain in Teyvat, which is the main reason why the twin refuses to leave. This idea isn't so far-fetched, because the visionary who is working with our twin for the Loom of Fate project is already at the end of time, and he is called a lamenter at fate's end, indicating that the future of Teyvat is bleak, as he is lamenting. They are from the future, attempting to change the past in order to save the past, which is what this line in Dainsleif's character card says. The future saves the past. And this entire description is narrated by the visionary, a person who claims to know fate. Hence, the fate being woven by the Loom of Fate might actually be a new timeline. Burning down the Ermine Soul would essentially destroy the current timeline, and once rewoven with the timeline created by the Loom, it can effectively change Teyvat's fate.
And as the viewer approaches the end of the video, suddenly a question appears on the screen. Are you watching this video because it's entertaining, or are you entertained because you're watching this video? The viewer simply replied,
"If the theory weren't this convincing, I might have a little trouble focusing."
But would you smash the like button? Nah, I'd subscribe.